Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We have finished the various Masaa'il pertaining to Tahaarat, and after Tahaarat comes the Masaa'il of Salaah, which we are bringing in this kitab. Here now continuing with the Masaa'il of Zakat. Number one, types of wealth on which Zakat is fard. Gold and silver, whether they in the form of bullion, jewelry, cash, banknotes, utensils, or any other form, whether used or not. So if a person has any type of jewelry, any gold, any silver, he has cash, or he has gold or silver utensil, gold tray, silver tray, then he will have to pay zakat on it, irrespective of whether he's using it or not. In the Hanafi mazhab, this doesn't make a difference. A person will have to pay zakat. When they are equal or more than the nisab rate, the nisab of gold is 87.48 grams and silver 612.36, 612.36 grams. But if a person has cash and he has gold and silver as well, then in this instance we're not going to look at this calculation, this nisab of 612 grams of silver and 87.48 grams of gold. We don't look at it because a person got cash as well. So all we do, we take the value of the gold, whether it's jewelry, whatever, just take the value of it, take the value of the silver, and you add it to the cash that you got. And then you see whether you come to the nisab, which is about 8,000 rands. See if you come to the nisab or not. If you come to the nisab or more than the nisab, you pay zakat. If you're under the nisab, then there is no zakat. But if, for example, a person only got jewelry, only got gold, for example, now you have to look how much of gold has the person got. He doesn't got cash, hasn't got no silver, got nothing else. For example, an old lady, she only got maybe her ring that is left, or she got a bangle that is left. So we will now take it and we will weigh it. And if it is less than 87.48 grams, then there's no nisab, there's no zakat on her because she hasn't reached the nisab. The market price of gold and silver will be taken on the day when zakat is calculated. Meaning the day we're calculating zakat, you will have to check what's the market value of the gold, what's the market value of the silver, and according to that you will calculate your zakat. For 24 karat gold, there will be a different price. 21 karat, different price. 22 karat, different price. 18 karat, different price. In regards to 9 karat, although some ulama say that in 9 karat there's more metal than gold. There's only about 37% of gold that is in 9 karat. And majority of it is other metal content. So some ulama say you don't have to pay. But the cautious view is rather they also, a person should pay the zakat. Number two, merchandise for business equal to the value of nisab. Person got stock, goods in his shop, and the goods are equivalent to nisab, 8,000 or more than 8,000, you have to pay zakat. When discharging zakat on one's merchandise, then the market value of your area will be taken into consideration. When you're calculating zakat, then what is the selling price? How much you're going to get for the goods? That's approximately the market value of it. That is the value that you'll pay zakat on. You don't pay zakat on cost price. You pay zakat on the market value, which is approximately the selling price. On that you will pay zakat. Many people ask, can we give stock? Like they got old stock that is in the shop. It's still brand new, but what I'm saying, like they bought it some time back. Maybe it's not selling, and they got it in the shop and they want to give it in zakat. No problem. You can even give that in zakat, but at the current market value. Maybe, for example, a person, he bought a trouser. When he bought it, at that time maybe it was 200 rand, but now it's out of fashion, so nobody buys it. So the market value of that trouser today is, let's say, it's only 50 rand. So when you're giving that trouser in zakat, you will give it at the 50 rand price. You can't give it at the 200 rand price anymore, because we're looking at the current market value. Number three, livestock. These are just the basic masail, very, very simple. There's a lot of details to everything. Where a person needs help, then a person should seek help. Number three, livestock. If the livestock are for trade, then 2.5% of the total value will be given in zakat. If a person got cows, a person got goats, sheep, whatever it might be, and it's for selling, then you will take the value of the animals, combine them all together. Let's say they come to 200,000 rand, so you just give 2.5% of that. If kept for milking or breeding, then zakat will be calculated on the number. But if you have animals that you're just deriving milk from, you derive milk and you drink from, they're not for selling, or you're breeding your animals, then there is zakat, but then it will not be on the value of the animal. Now it becomes number. For example, if you got 40 to 120 goats, then you have to give one goat in zakat. If you got 121 to 200 goats, then you have to give 2 goats in zakat. Or for example, a person got 30 cows, then you have to give 1 cow in zakat, right? And if you got 40 cows, then you give 1 cow that is a 3-year-old, you give in zakat. If you got 5 to 9 camels, then you have to give 1 goat in zakat. So see, it all differs. So all this has to now be calculated, that how much a person has to give in zakat for the animals. But in the animals that a person has, this is when the animals are free grazing. They eat the grass, etc., that naturally grow. But let's say there's no natural grass. You buying the fodder and you feeding the animal, then you don't have to pay zakat, because you are actually feeding the animal. So in that case, even if it's for breeding, there's no zakat. Yes, only for sale. If it's for sale and you feeding the animal, then you still have to pay zakat. But if it's for breeding purposes, then there won't be zakat. So there's a lot of details when it comes to animals. Number 4, income of properties if equal to the value of nisab. If a person has got properties from which he's deriving income, so on the property there's no zakat. But the income that is derived from the property, you'll pay zakat only if the day you're calculating zakat, that money is still available. If before that you already spend the money, no problem. Now you don't have to pay zakat on that as well. Number 5, income derived from a hiring business such as crockery, motor cars, vans, trucks, etc. Person got a hiring business, so he hires out crockery or cars or whatever it might be. So on the actual assets of the business, there's no zakat on that. That you don't have to pay zakat. But on the income that you derive, if when calculating zakat, the income is still available, then you pay zakat only on the income. If the money was spent before your zakat date, no zakat at all. Number 6, outstanding cash and loans when repaid and if equal to nisab. So let's say a person is calculating his zakat. When he's calculating his zakat, he's got, for example, 10,000 rand. So he has to pay 2.5% of the 10,000 rand. But there's another 10,000 rand, maybe he loaned to his brother. So his brother is owing him 10,000 rand. So in total, this person actually owns 20,000. If he has hope that the brother is going to pay the 10,000 rand, then you have 2 options. The one option is you pay the zakat every year. So when your brother gives you your money, now for the past years, there's no zakat, it has been paid. Every year it has been paid. But let's say you never pay every year. You said, no, when he gives me, I'm going to pay. And he paid you the 10,000 after 3 years. So 3 years you never pay zakat on the 10,000. So for the past 3 years now, you must pay zakat on that 10,000 rand. Number 7, plots with the intention of resale. You bought a piece of land. But when you bought the land or even a house, you bought with the intention that I want to resell it. You bought an apartment or whatever it might be to resell. So on that day is zakat. At the market value of that plot or that house, you will have to pay zakat. Number 8, shares. If one bought shares with the intention of reselling, zakat will be due on the prevailing market value of the shares. If a person, he bought shares, we're not talking of JSE here. JSE, we don't approve of JSE. So we're talking of shares. For example, a person, he bought in a mall, he bought some shares. They were building a mall, so he bought a few shares there. But the shares were not as an investment to derive income. It was with the intention that I will resell these shares. So if you bought for reselling, what is the current market value of that share? You'll have to pay zakat on that. If the shares are of a company that engages in trade, zakat will be due on the value of the share. If the shares of a company that engages, if the shares are of a company that engages in trade, zakat will be due on the value of the share as well as on the profits. So say for example, you bought shares in a shop, in somebody's business, you bought a share there. So they are now trading. So the value of the shop, of the stock that is in the business, that you'll have to pay zakat on. There's no zakat on fixture and fittings. So you need the balance sheet in order to work out what is the stock of the business and what is the fixture and fittings of the business. So the motor vehicles of the business, the fixture and fittings of the business, all that is excluded. So you take the net stock of the business, on that there is zakat. And whatever income you derive from the business, you will pay zakat on that also. But again, on condition that when you're calculating zakat, the funds are available. If you used it before that, no problem, there is no zakat. If the shares of a hiring company, zakat will only be obligatory on the profits accrued from the rentals. So say for example you invested in a hiring business where they hire cars out. So where they're hiring cars out, there a person doesn't pay on the value of the cars like we did just now. But the income that is derived, only on that a person will have to pay zakat. And we do one last one, number 9. Removable gold or silver limbs or fillings for nose, teeth, etc. So you got gold or silver limbs that a person got, or fillings for the nose, teeth, etc. That he will pay zakat. But if it's not removable, so in other words it is attached now, it can never ever be removed, then the masla is a person will not have to pay. That will be regarded as part of the body now.
One question. I think most people have the misconception you must keep the money for 1 year, and then only zakat is due on that money you have for 1 year.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's actually the first time in your life when you get the zakat, then the first time in your life after you became baligh, you got nisab. So you need to record that date down. So let's say for example the Islamic date. Zakat is calculated according to the Islamic date, not the English calendar. So let's say the 1st of Muharram, 1442, a person he got nisab. Now he waits for 1 year and he has to maintain that nisab for 1 year. If 1st of Muharram 1443 he still had nisab, so now he had the nisab for 1 year. So that 1st of Muharram 1443 became his zakat date. Person zakat not only paid in Ramadan. It all depends when you got the nisab first time in your life. After you became baligh, we're supposed to write it, but we negligent. People don't write it. That's why everybody thinks that, oh no, zakat only Ramadan, you give zakat in Ramadan. No, zakat is not only paid in Ramadan. And number 2, people need money throughout the year. They don't only need the money in Ramadan. That is why it is permissible for a person to pay the zakat, although it's best to pay it out one time, but you can even pay it little at a time, so that people's needs can be fulfilled throughout the year till the next zakat date comes in. If the next zakat date came in and a person didn't yet discharge the previous year's zakat, then a person will be sinful. So this is for 1 year. Now when you got your zakat date, let's say now 1st of Muharram 1443 became the zakat date because he maintained that nisab for 1 year. Now let's say 1st of Muharram 1444, 1 day before that, on the last day of Zulhijjah, a person inherited 1 million rand. So it's only 1 day. Next day is his zakat date. He has to pay zakat on the 1 million rand. Understand? So you don't keep, that doesn't mean that you're going to keep that 1 million rand for 1 year and then pay zakat. No. You have to pay immediately. Next day you'll have to pay zakat on the 1 million rand. MashaAllah, it's a very important question. Right? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The next topic we have faraz namaz parne ke tariqe ka bayan. This is the manner of performing the faraz namaz. Now this kitab, this was written for females. So he will explain how the females should perform the salah, and females do listen to the program as well. So we'll do it both. We'll do the males and the females together. Namaz ki niyat karke Allahu Akbar kahe. A person should have niyat of performing the faraz namaz, or what we said like sunnat or nafil. But in sunnat and nafil he can make a general niyat. So whether he's reading faraz or sunnah, whatever, he makes his niyat and he says Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar कहते वक्त अपने दोनों हाथ कंधे तक उठावे. When we sing Allahu Akbar, then we need to lift both the hands up to the earlobes. It's not necessary to touch the earlobes. If we touch the earlobes, no problem. That's our indication. But if you bring it in line with the earlobes, then it is fine. Now see how my hands are. When we sing Allahu Akbar, I see many people, they say Allahu Akbar like this. Some people say like this. Their hands are like this. Your hands must be in the direction of Qibla. When you perform in Salah, every limb must be facing in the direction of Qibla. So when you say Allahu Akbar, when we say, start with Allah, from your Allahu Akbar, like this. Right? So a person, his head must be kept straight all the time. Sometimes we do drop our heads, but generally the head must be kept straight, and your gaze must be at the place of sajda. Where your head is going to touch in sajda, your gaze should be there. So a person is standing straight, gaze at the place of sajda, Allahu Akbar. Now when we tie the hand, it must be below the navel. Many people I see that it's on the navel, and for the Shafis above the navel. But many people's hand is on the navel. It shouldn't be on the navel. It must be below the navel. And the 3 fingers should be on the forehand here. And with the baby finger and with the thumb, we will make a ring. And in this way, a person commences his salah. Right? So the head must be kept straight throughout the namaz. The head of a person will be kept straight, but the gaze, depending which posture you're in, that's where you'll keep the gaze. That is still coming ahead. We'll do it when we come there. लेकिन हाथों को दोपट्टा से बाहर न निकाले. But for a woman, when she's saying Allahu Akbar, the dopatta that she's wearing, that burqa that she's wearing, she mustn't take her hand out of that burqa, out of that dopatta. In there, she must make her movements. Allahu Akbar must be only in there. फिर सीने पर हाथ बांध ले. And for a woman, she will tie her hand on her chest. Right? Not like how we tie, she will tie it on her chest. And we tie it below the navel. और दाएं हाथ की हथेली को बाएं हाथ की हथेली की पुष्ट पर रख दे. And the palm of the right hand should be placed on the back of the palm of the left hand. But for the men, we bring it onto the forearm. We bring it onto the forearm. For the female, in this way. They will actually keep the right hand, the palm, on the back of the palm of the left hand. और ये दुआ पढ़े. Then a person should read the dua Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa tabaraka ismuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayruk. फिर a'udhu billah or bismillah पढ़कर alhamdu पढ़े. Then a person should start with a'udhu. A'udhu is only one time you read in salah. When you're starting Surah Fatiha in the beginning, that's the only time you say a'udhu. فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ. When you read Quran, seek protection from Allah. So you start with a'udhu and then bismillah. And then you read Surah Fatiha up till wala dhalleen, and then a person must say Ameen. But for us, the Hanafis, we say Ameen softly, and for the Shawafi, other Masaa'il, they can say it loudly, but we say it softly. wala dhalleen के बाद Ameen कहे, फिर Bismillah पढ़कर कोई सूरत पढ़े. Then a person must read Bismillah and recite any other surah. फिर Allahu Akbar कह के रुकू में जाओ. Then a person must say Allahu Akbar, and then a person goes into ruku or Subhana Rabbil Azim 3 martaba ya 5 martaba ya 7 martaba पढ़े. Then in ruku Subhana Rabbil Azim 3, 5 or 7 times. और रुकू में दोनों हाथ की उंगलियां मिलाकर घुटनों पर रख दे. And when in ruku, the female, she will keep all her fingers together on the knees when she is in ruku. Now for the male, that when a person, when he's in sajda, we will keep all the fingers like this together. In sajda, both the hands. Right? So all the fingers must, even the thumb, see how my thumb is? This is how the thumb must be kept also in sajda. All the fingers must be joined, right? In sajda. And when a person is in ruku, for a male, we're talking of the male now. So in sajda, all the fingers together. In ruku, spread apart in ruku, on the knees. Besides these two postures, besides the sajda and besides the ruku, in all other postures of namaz, whether you're saying Allahu Akbar or any other posture, the fingers will be kept normal like this. So there's only two postures. Or in all other postures it's normal. Only two postures. One posture it must be kept completely together, that is in sajda. And one posture it will be kept wide apart, that is in ruku. All other postures, you keep your fingers as normal. But for the female, when she is in ruku, her fingers must be kept together. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll do the practical salah for a little while, so then we can all correct our different postures. Inshallah, we'll see how far we go with this. और दोनों बाजू पहलू से खूब मिलाए रहे. And when a woman is performing salah, her forearms, this part of the hand, that must be kept together with the body. Ours must be spread apart. Ours is apart. But for woman, she must keep it together when she's in ruku. So there's no opening of the body, spreading of the body for a woman. As far as possible, a woman, she must cover herself. There must be satar. So she will keep all the parts of the body together. And we can spread out the body. So he says, और दोनों बाजू पहलू से खूब मिलाए रहे. So the two forearms will be kept together with the sides. और दोनों पैर के तखने बिल्कुल मिला देवे. And the two ankles of the woman, our feet must be 4 fingers apart, not more than 4 fingers apart, and not less than 4 fingers. 4 fingers apart, our feet should be kept in salah, throughout the salah for males. Right? But for a woman, she must keep her feet, her two ankles, the two ankles, it must be together. So the feet for a woman, everything is kept close. The feet also is closed. When she's in ruku, also everything is closed. When she's in sajda, also we'll do just now, everything will be closed in sajda as well. Like she shrinks herself in sajda and she makes her sajda like that. Why? Because the satar for a woman, even though she's in her own house, she's reading namaz in her own bedroom, and that's the best place for her to read namaz, in her room, not even in the lounge. In the room, in the darkest part of the room, she must read her namaz, the female. So in every aspect of her salah, there is parda. फिर समी अल्लाह लिमन हमिदा रब्बना लकल हम कहते हुए सर को उठावे. Now you say समी अल्लाह लिमन हमिदा रब्बना लकल हम, and now a person picks the head up, he comes up into the standing, the qoma posture. जब खूब सीधी खड़ी हो जावे तो फिर अल्लाहु अकबर कहती हुई सजदे में जावे. Now when a person is standing upright, you say Allahu Akbar and you go into sajda. So you come up, Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd, and then a person goes into sajda. There are certain du'as that have been recorded that a person can read in this posture, the qoma posture, and between the two sajdas. These du'as must be read in nafil namaz, only in nafil namaz. In the farz namaz, just Rabbana lakal hamd, Rabbana wa lakal hamd, up to that much. And when you come up from one sajda, you stop till there is ta'dil arkan, all the limbs of the body come to a complete stop, and then you go into the next sajda. But you don't read any du'as in the farz namaz, in the qawma posture and in the jalsa posture, the sitting posture between the two sajdas. जब खूब सीधी खड़ी हो जावे तो फिर अल्लाह अकबर कहती हुई सजदे में जावे. Now when a person is standing upright now in the qawma posture, now you say Allahu Akbar and he goes into sajda. Zameen par pehle घुटने रखे. See, this is very important. When we go into sajda, the knees must come onto the ground first. Generally the knees come first onto the ground, right? So the knees must touch the ground first. फिर कानों के बराबर हाथ रखे. Then a person will place the hands. After the knees comes the hands, should be in line with the ears of a person. So because your head goes in between the hands, isn't that so? So it will be in line with the ears of a person. So the hands will then come onto the ground. Or ungliya khub mila lewe. And for a woman, the fingers must be kept together. For the man is the same. As I said, for the man in sajda, the fingers will be kept together. फिर दोनों हाथों के बीच में माथा रखें. Then the head will be placed between the hands. और सजदे के वक्त माथा और नाक दोनों जमीन पर रख दे. When you in sajda, the head also must touch the ground and the nose must also touch the ground. Both parts must touch the ground. और हाथ और पाँव की उंगलियां किबला की तरफ रखें. And the fingers of the hand and the toes. For us, for the males, the feet will be kept up and the toes must all be pressed. Not many people leave their toes like this. They just leave it on the ground. It must be turned. All the toes must be turned in the direction of the qibla. Magar pav khare na kare. But for a woman, we keep our legs up. She will not keep her legs up. Balke दाएं taraf ko nikal de. She will take out her leg towards the right side. Towards the right. So a woman this way. But she'll keep the toes in the direction of qibla, but she'll take the legs out towards the right side. और खूब सिमट कर और दब कर सजदा करे. The woman, she must now tightly shrink herself and press herself and make sajda to such an extent कि पेट दोनों रानों से और बाने दोनों पहलू से मिला देवे. To such an extent that the stomach of the woman now touches the thigh. Right? To that extent, she must now shrink herself. And her two thighs, the two forearms, that will be joined to the body as well. And in this way, she will make a sajda. For a male, when we are making sajda, if we are performing salah nafil namaz, for example, and there is space, then a person, he must spread his hands out to such an extent, in the kitabs of fiqh, a baby goat must be able to pass by. That's how a person must spread out his hands when he is making sajda. That is for nafil namaz. But if you're going to do that in farz namaz, you're going to cause inconvenience to the musalli that is next to you. And to cause inconvenience to somebody is haram. So there a person wouldn't spread his hands out to that extent. We'll stop here, inshallah. We'll continue from here tomorrow, inshallah.
This is up to question. The first one you spoke about was the lady is best to read namaz in the room. Now if in the house you got like a small musalla.
Yeah, if you got a specific area that's for salah only, then there's no problem with that. But the best place that comes in the hadith is in the room of the woman.
So say you would advise.
Yeah, inshallah, that will also be fine. That will suffice.
And then the second question, you said when you come up from ruku, there's an incident of the Sahabi radiallahu anhu when he read that extra Hamdan Kasiran Tayyib Mubarak. So he said in the Farz Salah you don't.
Not in the Farz, in the Nafil Namaz. Right. So in Nafil Namaz all these extra du'as, but in the Farz Namaz just the basic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Continuing with this kitab, Anwaar Salaah. The last we discussed was the points that Sufi Iqbal had brought together. He summarized the bayan of Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed Rahmatullahi alayhi. And the first thing he mentioned that we need to bring the importance of namaz in our heart. In order to instill the importance of namaz in the heart of a person, read Fazail Namaz, the kitab of the Shaykh Rahmatullahi alayhi, Fazail Amal, where the virtues of Salah has been mentioned. The second thing is that a person should think again and again, this namaz is no burden on me. It's a great ni'mat of Allah Ta'ala. I cannot make shukr for namaz. And I'm useless. I'm so useless. But Allah wa Ta'ala, who is so great, He's the King of Kings. Allah wa Ta'ala has commanded me to come into His court 5 times a day. And 5 times a day present my request, my need before Allah wa Ta'ala. Thirdly, Allah didn't make me in need of taking somebody's permission to come in the masjid free of charge. You come in the masjid, water is free. You come in the masjid, a person goes and utilizes the bathroom. Nobody asks him for money. Although it is best that a person contributes. But if he doesn't contribute a cent also, nobody will ask him for a single cent over here. Allah Ta'ala, how Allah Ta'ala takes care, how Allah Ta'ala puts it in the heart of certain people, they just give and give towards the masajid. So over here, Allah Ta'ala brought me into His house and made everything available for me. And thereafter Allah wa Ta'ala warned also that a person sometimes is overpowered by his desires. He's feeling lazy, he doesn't want to go for namaz. So there Allah Ta'ala warned you that there's severe warnings for that person, that you don't come into my house and perform salah. Now in spite of all this, if a person, he still doesn't come into the court of Allah wa Ta'ala, such a great ni'mat, and he doesn't perform salah, then a person, and he purchases the adhab of Allah wa Ta'ala. This is an indication that this is a very foolish person and this is a very, very base person. That's what he says in the end. अब मुझे जान लेना चाहिए कि ऐसी नेमत उज़्मा और महबूब हकीकी के करम से महरूम रहकर अपने मुहसिन व खालिक व मालिक और दुनिया व आखिरत के चारा एहसास को नाराज़ करके सख्त अदाब का मोल लेना बड़ी नादानी और कमीनापन है. Right? This shows that's a very base person, a very, very foolish person, that he purchases the adhab of Allah wa Ta'ala, and a person, he doesn't come to the masjid to perform salah. Number 3, namaz mein dil ki huzuri jiske husul ka tariqa to bayan mein wadi hai, that the manner of attaining concentration in salah, which was explained in the bayan, कि कोशिश की जाए, that make an effort कि नमाज के हर रुकन में कम से कम कोई लहजा ज़रूर हुजूरी का मुयस्सर हो, that in every posture of salah, that minimum, that you should think of Allah wa Ta'ala for one moment also, that even for a little while, every posture, in the standing posture at least one time, in ruku at least one time, minimum we're talking, in sajda at least one time, think of Allah wa Ta'ala. And really, if a person only thinks to himself, I'm now in the standing posture of salah, he just thinks one time, I'm in the standing posture of salah, and namaz is and the standing posture is farz, he just thinks of that, you'll see, you'll get concentration in salah. To some extent, the mind will come back into salah. When you go into ruku, now you just say, I'm in ruku at the moment, and this is an farz posture of namaz as well. So immediately the mind will go to that, and you will get some level of concentration. इस हुजूरी के वदाहत में जो उमूर हज़रत सैयद साहब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह ने तहरीर फरमाए हैं, that to gain this concentration in salah, the explanation that Hazrat Shah Ahmad Shaheed rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned, मसलन अपने आप को अपने रब के सामने जाने, think I'm before Allah तबारक व तआला, और रब करीम को अपने हाल पर मुतवज्जी समझे, I'm before Allah and Allah Ta'ala's focus is now on me. So that was one way of gaining concentration. Like we gave the example, you're working before the boss, how hard you're going to work. So just think, I'm before Allah and Allah is focusing on me. So this will allow a person to gain some level of concentration. जो कुछ जुबान से पढ़ रहा है इसके माना को जाने. And we did that. The second thing he said, to gain that concentration, for the heart to be affected, just think of what you are saying. What you are saying, think of that, what you are reading in Salah. अगर मजमून अल्लाह करीम के गुस्से व इताब का हो तो दिल ही दिल में खौफ करे और पनाह चाहे. Where Allah तबारक व तआला's azab is mentioned, the person should fear and ask Allah Ta'ala for protection. और जो मकाम रहमत और इनायत का हो तो दिल ही दिल में इसके हुसूल की तमन्ना और आरजू करें. Where Allah Ta'ala's rahmat, Allah's mercy, Allah's favors is being showered upon us, there a person should desire this. He should desire that Allah Ta'ala grants me this. और नफलों में मश्क के दौरान चाहे इस कैफियत के हुसूल के लिए आयात को बार बार पढ़ना पड़े. And when you're reading nafil namaz, then to gain this, where a person now, the azab of Allah is mentioned. So a person fears Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Where Allah Ta'ala's rahmat is mentioned, to desire that rahmat of Allah and ask for that. He says in the nafil namaz, you can read the verses repeatedly. Even if you read the verse repeatedly, just to practice on this. So you get in the habit of fearing that adab of Allah, seeking protection, desiring the rahmat of Allah and asking for it. If you repeat it, you can do this in nafil namaz. So that when you're reading the namaz later on, in faraz namaz, etc., you will already have that concentration because you practice on it in your nafil namaz. So that's the third point that he mentioned. And the fourth point, ye ke namaz ki azmat ko khoob samajhne ke baad, that after understanding the greatness of namaz, that how great namaz is, तमाम आदाब के बादशाह या हकीकी के कबूलियत के लायक है इनको बजा लावे. That implement all those etiquettes that will make your salah worthy of acceptance in the court of Allah Ta'ala. All those etiquettes that will make your salah worthy of acceptance in the court of Allah, act on all those etiquettes. He will explain this. In adab mein awwal darja mein taharat aur pakizgi. In from amongst all the etiquettes, the first is to attain purity, that a person becomes pak, that a person becomes pure. So in purity, when a person goes to become pak, when he makes his wudu, etc., he should be extra careful that he does his wudu properly, before that the istinja properly. दूसरा नमाज का तरीका, यानी वुजू और नमाज के फ़िक़ही मसाइल जो रिसाला तालीम उल इस्लाम वगैरह में बयान किए गए हैं. And secondly, a person should learn all the masail of wudu, all the masail of namaz that have been mentioned in the kitab Talimul Islam. Here we're doing Besti Zewa. That is why we did the Masaa'il of Tahaarat, the Masaa'il of Tahaarat and of Salaah, so that when we're reading namaz, we know the laws of Salah that I'm performing. Now a person, it will help him to gain concentration in Salah because he knows the laws of Salah. अगर ना मालूम हो तो पहले इसको सीख लो. If you don't know the laws of Salah, you don't know the laws of Tahaarat, then go and learn that first. खा जितने दिन इसमें लग जाए, irrespective of how long it takes. If it takes 6 months also, no problem. Take 6 months. But learn the masail of namaz, learn the masail of wudu. And really, if you have to really see, people don't know the masail. The masail of wudu, the masail of namaz, generally people don't know. They're just reading namaz. And they don't know the masail. So they think they are reading correctly. So even if they're making mistakes for years, because they don't know the masail, they don't even go and ask anybody what is the masail. So how important it is that we do this cause, we know the masail, all this will benefit. And really we hardly even started. And our 10 days are almost up. Which means inshallah, if Allah gives us tawfiq next year, we'll continue from where we stopped. But there's so much to learn. ताकि नमाज के तमाम फ़राइज़ व वाजिबात, मुस्तहब्बात और मुफ्सिदात व मकरूहात खूब पहचाने. So that a person knows what is faraz in namaz. If you have to ask, what are the faraiz of namaz? We would perhaps won't know all the faraiz of namaz. What are the sunnats of namaz? There's approximately 51 sunnats in namaz. We won't know the 51 sunnats of namaz. What are the things that are mustahab in namaz? What are the things that nullify the namaz of a person? So all this a person is supposed to know. So if he makes an error in namaz also, he knows, oh okay, this was a mustahab act. So if I miss the mustahab act, then inshallah my salah will be valid. But I wouldn't get the reward because I didn't act upon the mustahab. But if he did something that was mufsidat in namaz, that corrupts the namaz of a person, he knows that now my namaz became invalid. I have to repeat the namaz all over again. For example, one place we're reading Tarawih Salah. So the imam that was there, that was giving lukma, he said in one place, read this verse. He said read. So see, when you say read, now that word is an English word out of Quran, what happens? Namaz is invalid. Right? Now when he said read, his namaz became invalid. Right? Though who after he said the word, whatever the word was after that, he said the word. For example, Alam Nashra, read Alam Nashra. So when he said read, his namaz became invalid. And after that, he's out of namaz. Now he said Alam read, now Alam Nashra. So when he said Alam Nashra, when was it? Out of namaz. And when the imam is reading namaz, and somebody out of namaz corrects him, his namaz becomes invalid. So the imam broke his namaz, and he said Allahu Akbar and started again. But the imam, the person that gave the lukma, he started his namaz again. But the actual imam who was reading Taraweeh, he continued with the namaz, and that namaz was finished after that. Whereas that namaz was invalid. He's supposed to have started the namaz all over again. So see, we don't know the Masaa'il of namaz. If a person makes a mistake in Taraweeh Salah, for example, person was reading 4 rakats. He was reading 2 rakats, but somehow he forgot and he went to 4 rakats. So now, what does a person do? So after 2 rakats, he never sat, he stood up and he read 2 more rakats. So he read 4 rakats, 1 shot, and in the end he sat. So the last 2 rakats become valid, the first 2 rakats become invalid, even if he makes sajda sahu in the end. So we don't know the Masaa'il. So we need to know the Masaa'il of Salah. ताकि इस दर्जे में इसको मलहूज रखे. So all these things, what is mustahab, what is sunnat, what is faraz, what is wajib, we keep all this in its respective place. ये बातें तो सुलूक इख्तियार करने से पहले सीखनी ज़रूरी है. He says all these things, the masail of namaz, etc. Before coming to the khanqa, to tread the path to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, we're supposed to learn all this and now come to learn the love of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. See, there's a sequence to everything. So at the first level, learn the basic masail. After you know that, now come to learn how to reach Allah Ta'ala. When you know the basic masail, you'll do your ibadat correctly, and now very quickly you will fly and you will reach Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. हमने इख्तियातन इसलिए लिख दिया कि बाज़ ज़ाकिर शागिल हज़रात को इसकी तरफ खुसूसी तवज्जो नहीं होती. We wrote this as a precautionary measure because some people that make a lot of zikr of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, but they don't pay any attention to this. You're making zikr of Allah Ta'ala to reach Allah, but the masail of namaz you don't know. The masail of tahaarat a person doesn't know, which is much more important. उन्हीं मज़कूरा बाला फ़राइज़ वाजिबात सुनन मुस्तहब्बात का नमाज के हर रुकन में ध्यान रखना नमाज में दिल की हुजूरी कहलाती है. Now all these aspects, what is faraz in namaz, wajib in namaz, sunnat in namaz, mustahab in namaz, in every posture to be conscious that, oh, in this posture this is faraz, in this posture this is sunnat, in this posture this is mustahab. To keep this, to be conscious of this in every posture of namaz, he said this is what you call concentration in salah. But because we don't know it, so now a person doesn't think of it. Now imagine if in every posture you have to think that this posture is a faraz of namaz. For me to sit in the duration of tashahhud, the first qada, if you're reading 4 rakat namaz, to read the tashahhud over here, that is wajib. And in the second posture after 4 rakats, there it is farad. Now if a person is conscious of all this, Durood Ibrahim, this is the sunnat of namaz. The dua that I read in the end, if I have to miss that out also, no problem. But it is khilaf sunnat. All this, if a person knows and he thinks of all this, finish. His namaz is of concentration. That is what we require to do in namaz. Just do that much. Think of what is wajib, what is farad, what is sunnat, what is mustahab, and your namaz will be a salah of concentration. जिसकी अहमियत हज़रत सैयद साहब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह ने बयान फरमाई है, which हज़रत शाह अहमद शहीद रहमतुल्लाह अलैह mentioned in his बयान. और नमाज में हुजूर क़ल्ब का यही मतलब है. He said in namaz to have concentration. This is the meaning of this. So then he quotes Hazrat Mujaddid al-Fithani rahmatullah, was a very very great buzruk, Mujaddid al-Fithani rahmatullah alayhi, ने भी बयान फरमाया. He also said the same thing. चुनाचे मकतूब बनाम हजरत मीर मुहिब्बुल्लाह खलीफा खास हजरत मुजद्दिद साहब रहमतुल्लाह अलैह बाद हमद व सलाह तहरीर फरमाते हैं. So the Khalifa of Hazrat Mujaddid al-Fithani rahmatullahi alayhi, Hazrat Mir Muhibbullah, he mentioned, he wrote that what Hazrat Mujaddid al-Fithani rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned. What he said, जानना चाहिए खुदा तुमको सीधा रास्ता दिखाया. You should know Allah Ta'ala keep you on a straight path कि नमाज का मुकम्मल होना और इसका कमाल फ़कीर के नज़दीक इसके फ़राइज़ व वाजिबात और सुनन व मुस्तहब्बात का अदा करना है. He says that namaz, for your namaz to be completed and to gain perfection in your namaz, according to Mujaddid al-Fithani, Faqir referring to Mujaddid al-Fithani rahmatullahi, is that a person discharges the faraiz, wajibat, sunan, mustahabbat of salah. If a person does that much, then he has read a salah of concentration. And that is the salah that is desired by Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. जिसको कुतुब फ़िक़ह में तफसील से बयान कर दिया गया है. And all this have been mentioned in the kitabs of fiqh, what is farz, wajib, sunnat and mustahab. इन 4 उमूर के अलावा और कोई अमर ऐसा नहीं है जिसको नमाज की तकमील में कोई दखल है. And besides these 4 things, there is nothing really that is in namaz which actually contributes to the completion and the perfection of namaz. It is in these 4 things. Just keep to these 4 basic things. See, we asked to do the basics. Just do the basics and your salah will become correct. खुशू इन्हीं चारों उमूर में मुंदरिज और खुजू इन्हीं उमूर से वाबस्ता है. That खुशू, the inward concentration of salah, is also connected to this. And the outward khudu, where our limbs, etc., everything has to be done correctly, that is also connected to these 4 things. So internally and externally, if we know the faraiz, wajibat, mustahabbat and sunan, our work has been done. आगे चल के लिखते हैं, further he says, ला salata illa bihuduril qalb. There is no salah except with concentration, where the heart is present in namaz. ला salata illa bihuduril qalb में हुजूर qalb से मुराद उमूर मज़कूरा 4 गाना में हुजूर qalb है. He says that where it says that your heart must be in namaz, you must be concentrating in namaz, this is pertaining to these 4 things. यानी दिल की तवज्जो और ख्याल के साथ नमाज के तमाम फराइज व वाजिबात, सुनन, मुस्तहब्बात का अदा करना. That together with concentration, with focusing in namaz, together with this, fulfill the faraiz, wajibat, sunan and mustahabbat. See, he's repeating this again and again and again. That if these matters only come right in our namaz will be corrected. ताकि कोई कोताही इन उमूर में वाक़ई न होने पाए. That in these 4 things, there shouldn't be any shortfall, there shouldn't be any deficiency from our side. इसके अलावा और कोई हुजूर क़ल्ब फ़कीर के समझ में नहीं आता. Besides these 4 things, Mujaddid al-Fathani rahmatullah alayhi he's saying, and he was a great buzruk of his time, and he is saying, according to my understanding, that besides these 4 things, there is nothing else as far as the concentration of salah is concerned. We'll stop here, inshallah. There's only one more page to finish this first lesson. I think that's the maximum we'll be able to go to. Inshallah, we'll do that tomorrow, and we'll do a little bit of the practical salah tomorrow, inshallah. Allah give us tawfiq.